Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Tuesday night Eventide stream. How is everyone doing here this fine Tuesday night? I am excited to chat with all of you tonight. Tonight's video may be a little bit of a shorter one. I don't have a lot of content to go over here today, but I've got a big bit of news I want to drop that I think some of you are already well aware of, but I do want to talk about it in context of Eventide and what it means over the next few weeks and months. So we'll just hop right into it. Last week I bought a house. that's the big news. I bought a house. And this has been something that's been occupying a lot of my time over the past few months. For those of you who have ever gone through the house purchasing process, it is long, complicated, anxiety-filled, and difficult. And I have been doing that now for, well, yeah, we started in the spring. Yeah. So, for those of you wondering, yes, it does have air conditioning. Mandatory requirement that it have air conditioning. Yeah, I'm done with losing stream days, with losing productivity because it's just too hot. Done with that. So, yeah. So, that has happened. We closed just last week. So, the house has been purchased. And now it's just a matter of figuring out how to move. Because it is a bit more of a complicated move because the house is in Portland, Oregon. So I am leaving Seattle, place I've been in now for just shy of 20 years. By the time I leave, I will have been here for just over 19. And we're going down to Portland. So that's pretty exciting. That's been big news. But I got to be honest, and I haven't really wanted to talk about it because I wasn't sure it was going to happen. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out. So I've kind of been keeping it on the down low. Really didn't talk about it at all. Cards on the table, folks. It has been really hard for me to get anything else done. I've been juggling that. I've been juggling getting Hope Finder stuff out the door. Between that and a bunch of work stress, and trying to find a house, I have not had time for anything. Like, I've been, getting in Eventide work when I could sneak it in, but everything got less time than it needed over the past several months. Just, driving, doing road trips to go, check things out. I've missed stream days because of road trips down to Portland. That has been part of it. I have, been stressed, having to spend countless hours researching mortgage terms and rates and doing my due diligence and shopping around, and it's just been a lot. It's been an awful lot. So I see this is a question of what made me choose Portland. First of all, this Paizo allows for remote work in a certain number of states. Not every state. It's not an automatic thing because wherever you want to do remote work, the company has to set up a license there to do so. So it does cost money and time, and Oregon is one of the states that is possible. So when looking, I prefer to stay on the West Coast. I like it out here. The weather agrees with me. And frankly, looking at how weather roasted other parts of the country, Portland is a little warmer than Seattle, but not over much. And certainly nothing in comparison to, places that had 110, 120 this year for weeks on end. Not really interested in moving anywhere like that. Paizo's current remote work states are Washington, Oregon, Minnesota, Indiana, Maryland, and I want to say Colorado. I'm not sure if Colorado's on the list. Might be. I might be mistaken on that. So I didn't have a lot of choices. You know, I did consider going back to the Midwest, but I think I like it out here too much. I like the time zone. I like the climate. I like the people, and I love Portland. Portland as a town is frankly a great town. I like it quite a bit, and it feels to me a lot like Seattle did 15 years ago. For good or ill, right? It's not as busy of a town as Seattle is now. Seattle is so packed, it's so full, that it feels overstuffed. And Portland has a kind of more relaxed air. It's got more space, and frankly, it's cheaper. like I could not remotely buy the house that I bought if it were located here in Seattle. I just couldn't. That's just not on the table. It would have been way too expensive. You know, the for the amount of space that I got, for the amount of you know, land, it would have cost over $1 million. So so yeah, the cost of living is more reasonable. The climate is still relatively pleasant. It gets about the same amount of rain as Seattle, I think a little less. But yeah, it's a nice place. Portland is genuinely a nice town, a nice place to live, and I'm looking forward to it. But it's gonna disrupt me quite a bit. I hate moving. I despise it. It's the one thing I don't like doing. And you know, whether or not I ever move again will be an interesting question. I'm about to buy a house, so, or rather, I have to change my language. I bought a house, so you know, I'm hoping that maybe this is the last time I have to move, at least for a good long while. I still have a dream of building my own place at some point in time, putting that architecture degree to use. But I do have to move, and I'm not moving in September. That's too soon. I did just close, but I still need to get some work done to the place before we can move in. Nothing major, but I need to have a couple things done, and as a result, we will be moving next month. Next month, and next month's just going to be chaos. It's going to be chaos. So what I am probably going to do is I think I'm going to pause the Patreon for a month. If for no other reason than to remove my feelings of guilt for not doing everything I should be doing. So there will be no charge for the month of October. I'm going to be moving that month. Things are going to be chaotic. I'm still going to try and do things. But I don't want to necessarily be on the clock. I'm going to try and do my regular streams as best that I can until eventually I have to pack down the studio. But between now and then, things are going to get a little rough. I have a sneaking suspicion that when the move does finally come, I will be out of commission for about 2 weeks, would be my guess. From packing everything down, moving everything, and then setting everything back up. I'm going to guess that I'm going to be offline for... maybe I can keep that down to a week and a half. But I have a sneaky suspicion I'm going to miss a lot of content, a lot of streams. So, yeah, and I mean, you know, folks, I'm a game collector, so I have a lot to pack up. There's a lot of stuff, but fortunately, the place that we are moving into is much bigger, and gives us lots more opportunities to just have more space and do the things we need to do. So that is the big news. That's the big thing that happened. I had little things that happened, like someone decided Sunday morning to smash one of the windows of my car. So that's been fun. No reason. Just decided to break one of the windows of my car. So I've been out without a car now, and I need to drive down to Portland and do a site inspection and stuff like that. So I'm just busy. Busy. Yeah, I mean, you know, the amount of work to pack everything up, and you know, we've got to start on that, right? And we're not moving for over a month at this point still, probably. So, you know, I feel like we'll get it done, but it's going to be a lot of effort between now and then. So yeah, no, I funny enough with the car break-in thing, I actually have video of it. One of my neighbors has a cam that caught the whole thing on tape, and they just drove up in a different car, hopped out, ran around my car once, smashed the window, looked around, and then got back in their car and left. There's nothing in there for them to take. They could have my old ice scraper, a box of Kleenex. That's about all that's in there. I don't keep anything in the car specifically so that people don't break in and steal anything. So it was really odd. I'm really confused as to why it even happened. But you know, I don't know. I have enough information that I could probably go to the police, but I don't actually think they'll do anything. So I just filed the insurance claim and I'm waiting for it to get fixed. Yeah, I don't know. Looked like kids. I don't know. Could have been a stupid, you know, initiation into a club or something. I don't know. It's the trial hazing. I don't know. I don't think it really matters. It's frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me. If you're wondering why I've been over the past few months, I've been like, yep, sure am busy. Can't really talk about it yet. I'll be able to talk about it soon. It's been about the move. It's been about the search and whatnot. I have been kind of swamped with that for several months now. The search started, God, in like March. So, you know, I've been kind of on the house hunt for 6 months now, and yeah. As far as the whole car break-in thing, yeah, no, I was someone who died too many times in an adventure I made. Yeah, that's possible. But yeah, the cops aren't going to do anything about this. It's one broken window. Nothing was stolen. No one's going to jail. it's a, yeah, vandalism happens. That's why you have insurance. So anyway, that's being fixed tomorrow. Which is great, because for those of you who are Hope Finder backers of the highest tier, and I know at least a few people who are also here are in that, your stuff is waiting. I can't ship it because I can't drive. The car's full of glass and has an empty window, so I can't really go anywhere right now. It's getting repaired tomorrow, and then I think I'm shipping everything Thursday, so exciting. So what else is going on? Last night I met with the members of one of my playtest groups, the one that kind of dissolved. And they just wanted to chat and hang out and ask some questions about where the campaign was going to go and things like that. And I think everybody's at this point where they're sad that it's over, but they also understand that the timing for this particular group, because of the various people in it, just didn't work out. We constantly were missing sessions. We just couldn't get a quorum because there was just enough people in it who had things that they had to do all the time. And it wasn't like it was one person that we could remove. There were 3 of us that constantly had conflicts that kept cropping up and canceling the game. So as a result, we got together and had a bit of a retrospective. And also, frankly, I got to have kind of a frank conversation with them about some things they liked about the game, some things they didn't like about the game. And that was interesting. You know, they gave me some very honest feedback about some parts of part 2 that didn't quite work for them. There's the whole relay race at the end that they felt like they got duped on because they didn't know who to send to what thing. And I agree, it should probably have more signposting that's like, oh, yep, this is the acrobatics section, this is the you know, go solve some riddles section, and this is the you know, do a bunch of strength stuff section. I agree with that by and large, that that the various sections should probably be a bit more signposted so you know what to expect and can at least make an educated guess. Also, they felt like the investigation was a hair too long. That it took just a few sessions too many. And I don't know if that's an artifact of... We didn't... we had a bunch of missed sessions in there that made it seem longer than it was. But it's possible that it's actually just that there's a bit too many red herrings. Like I should strip one kind of dead end out entirely just to make sure the story moves forward a little faster, right? Because if you get that list of 5 places you can go at the start of part 2, and if you chase all 5 of those down, only really one of them is relevant at the beginning. Two of the others, actually 3 of the others, become relevant later. Or sorry, 2 of the others become relevant later, and the other 2 are just dead ends. They don't go anywhere. And I'm thinking only one of them should be a dead end. I think I'm going to cut one out. Quite possibly the tea shop. The tea shop doesn't do much. And yeah, I'm going to talk to the other group about it, but I do think both groups felt like they spent too long in part 2. That part 2 was just, it dragged a bit. And the end of it kind of comes together nicely and wraps up nicely and moves forward nicely. But there was a bit of kind of lag in there. Also, they recommended something really interesting to me, is that I had this problem with both groups. So both groups didn't trust Havanok at all. Not at first. Both groups kind of treated Havanok like some sort of outsider, and admittedly, right, Havanok is a member of the guard, and is the one giving you the rules of how to, work in the place. But as a result, Havanok just comes off as an authority figure. And they don't trust authority figures because they're adventurers, and adventurers don't trust the cops. Which, I get. But Havanok is also being set up over time to be a character who is an ally. But that doesn't happen right away. And both groups kind of treat her like an obstacle at first. And I think that's something that needs to be softened. There's a few different ways I could do it. But I think there's a pretty obvious one in that Havanok in part 1, and admittedly part 1 is already written and done, but in the final compilation of this, should I do a final compilation, I think I might alter it so that Havanok invites them all to the bar that first night just to size them up, and to kind of just make her more of a person at first. Because when they sign up, they get dragged off to the Black Fang Tavern, the Stone Fang Tavern, to have some free drinks and publicity, and it's just a chance for them to introduce their characters to one another. But Havanok could be a part of that in a way that starts the process of humanizing her and making her less of just a cop and more of a character they can come to rely on. So I got good feedback. Does the tea shop give a hint to the brother? It only gives a minor. The tea shop does currently include a very minor hint about the brother, but it's real small. It doesn't really. It's a thing that if you cut it out and you didn't know it, it wouldn't really impact the story. It doesn't change the trajectory of the tale at all. It's just, it's a way that you can come to a conclusion about a piece of the information before you get pieces that come later. But it's not ultimately something that you need. It's like, oh, from this you can learn that Wolfrin sent his brother things. Once you know he has a brother, which takes time. And until then, you just know that he's been doing things, and you don't really know what it is. And then you come to realize that he's been sending his brother stuff, which does tell you that the brother doesn't live locally. But again, that's a piece of information you can also get from the other main clues that tell you much more of what you need. So it's not vital. I also explained to them the alterations that are happening to part 3, some of which I've discussed with you all here, about tying in a trail of breadcrumbs for the Thunder Company, that they came this way before the PCs and caused mayhem and disruption along the way to kind of make part 3 feel like it has more of a cohesive story and less like it's a bunch of random encounters on the road. I think that is a change that will help a lot with part 3, because the early parts of part 3 really just kind of feel like random things you run into on the road. And to some extent, I want it to be some random things you've run into on the road, right? That's what happens when you go from place to place. But if I can thread a bit of a story in there as well, that will pay off later and make the whole thing feel like more of a cohesive beat. Because right now it feels too disjointed. At least the early going did. And I'm working on that with both groups now, but that damage is kind of already done. I can't go back and retcon it. So, yeah, that is where that is at. So, yeah. We just had a good time. We chatted a bunch. We talked a lot about the campaign, how it went. They wanted to know kind of how it's supposed to end, what the end state is. And I gave them the basic idea about where the module is actually going. But no real secrets, right? It's like, yeah, you're not getting any of the deep lore of the world. That's not what's happening. I'll tell you what kind of where the adventure is going, right? That, in the end of this, you do get the chance to wake Wolfram up. That you can rouse him from his slumber. And that, one of the first things he does is look at you and say, what year is it? And is frankly in a panic when he learns he's been slumbering for 300 years. Because his research was time sensitive, and now 300 years later, everything has evolved and degraded more than he had been studying before. So things are much worse. This also, by the way, gives me a convenient way to limit his overall power at first, because he ends up being an ally. And if he's an ally, but he can't do powerful wizard stuff for you right away, it allows me to pace that out in a way that feels more... isn't quite game-breaking. Because you're not giving PCs access to a friend who has powerful magic that can solve problems for them. They still have to be the prime movers because Wolfram can't do it. So, yeah. That's how that went. Good time. We chatted for about 2 hours and meandered onto a bunch of different topics. I may still game with that group on occasion. But in a more limited engagement and in shorter runs where it's like, all right, everybody can be here for the next 3 Mondays, right? Okay, we're going to play this game. But, yeah. Yeah, Wolfram's not meant to be the thing that comes and saves you whenever you're in trouble. That's no fun at all. I am very cognizant of not including things like that in my games. As someone who has been, running games since, frankly, since I was a kid, I've already had my campaigns where I had, an NPC that I liked that had too big of a center role, or, a powerful magic item that just allows them to save their ass whenever they really need it. I've done all that before. I've made those mistakes before. I'm not doing that again. Only once on mistakes of that caliber. Never twice. So, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. As I mentioned, I don't know that I have too much more for this stream. The past week I've not exactly had time to focus. I have been doing nothing but getting closing documents done. Right? I mean, that took days and is complicated and required me to read a lot of legalese and understand that that's kind of my job. That's a thing that I do. So, kind of digging through it all and making sure that, everything is above board and what we want. Bit distracting. Yeah, well, no, I appreciate it. I appreciate the well wishes. I hate moving. Have I mentioned that? Um, I am moving to Portland, Oregon. I'm currently in Seattle. So yeah, no, moving south, down to Portland. Pretty excited about it. I like Portland. It's a good town. Good town. Yeah, no, I am pretty good at legalese. Yeah, that is a thing that I know is being able to read through contract language is it's boring, but I can do it. So yeah, that's kind of the big news from the top, has been a big part of the reason why I've been, frankly, pretty slow and distracted for the past several months, especially the past month. The past month has been a lot from the moment the offer was made and things like that, and having to deal with inspections and appraisals and all that kind of stuff. It's been very, very nerve-wracking. But that's all done now. Now we just need to figure out how to move and not break the bank. So that's what's going on. If you missed the news earlier as well, because the move is happening in October and I'm going to be busy as hell, I'm not going to be charging the Patreon for the month of October. October, I will pause it. We will resume in November. That just kind of lets me off the hook of feeling bad about not making any progress or making only partial progress this month and next month. It's just fair to all of you folks. I appreciate your support, but if you're supporting me, I want to be working, and I'm not going to be reliably working next month. I have to pack boxes and drive back and forth several times. Not to mention I need to walk Rango down there. That's going to take a while. My cat. So here's the thing, for those of you who don't know, the playtest of Eventide has always been remote. I have not done in-person gaming since before the pandemic. So yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the basic plan right now. We have to make a bunch of trips down there anyway to meet with folks and do some things, and as a result we might as well take some stuff with us, like obviously I have one of those giant foam goblins, and that I'm not letting a mover move. I'm just going to drive down there with that in the back seat, so that should be fun. Oh, I have no idea how Rango's going to respond. I have not put him in a car for 3 hours before, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to wager not great. but we got to do it. So that will be tricky. So what else? What else we got going on here? Boy, I don't know that there's much else for me to talk about. My editor is still waiting patiently, and I continue to plink away at the file when my attention allows me to. I have been... one other thing that I've been working on is getting some of these other ancillary pieces moving. Bouncing between pieces based on what I have the energy and time to work on. I do intend to get a revised Penumbrist out to folks soon. I'm going to try and make that happen sometime here in the next few weeks, now that, I mean, aside from packing, I can finally breathe again, and not have to spend all night staring at Zillow. Or one of them, dozen different sites. It's all over the place. So, yeah, I'm not sure that the goblin does count as a person. I think if I put him in there, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, sir, do you know why I pulled you over? There is a goblin in the back seat of your car, and that doesn't count as a person. No, you're a fine goblin. Get.
Oh, one of the good ones.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. Yeah. I do have my partner to come along with me as well, so we'll get the HOV lane. I think that's the first time they've interrupted my my Eventide stream. I guess I dropping eaves. I see. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, and if you missed the announcement on Saturday, I will tell them hi. If you missed the announcement on Saturday as well, Dan is coming with me. So we're moving on down. So should be fun. Should be a good time. I think it's going to be a lot of changes, but once we get all settled, we're gonna have a good time. It's going to be pretty fun. But yeah, that's kind of all I have here today. So if folks have any questions or anything they want to know about, I'm happy to stick around for a few more minutes and chat. Yeah. But other than that, I don't really I just don't have any more news. That's it. I continue to stare at my documents and figure out what I'm going to need to change for the remaster, but I can't do any of that until the remaster actually drops. So I'm kind of just holding on that. There is part of me that thinks one of the biggest things I'll need to do before I release the player's guide, and maybe this is the right call, is to wait on the player's guide until I can remaster it. And have it just be compatible with the remaster day one. I actually think that's probably a good call. Just so that it's up to speed and I don't have to worry about converting it later. And frankly, that's probably all I have time for anyway at this point. So, can definitely work on that. Once I get settled, I think the next... So, my order of operations right now is I want to make sure that 2 gets to the editor. And I'm hoping to do that here in the next few weeks. That way that can go while I'm moving and I don't have to... Like, I'm not losing time. So, that's I think the next thing I'm going to focus on is getting that done. And then, frankly, after that, once that's in progress, and assuming I get the move done and that isn't back yet, then the next part of the process is probably getting the player's guide polished to the point where I can release it to the patrons. It won't be ready for public consumption yet because it won't have been edited. And it has... the only art in it is stuff that I either drew, like maps, or is, one of the few pieces of art that I have that makes sense in there. And that's not enough for a 64-page book. It's got 64 pages worth of text, but it doesn't have 64 pages worth of art. So I'm going to have to start squirreling away budget for art for that. And once I get that all pulled together, then I'm just working on the GM's guide as I continue running part 3. I do think I'm finally having a game session this week. It has been a while. That's been the other thing that frankly has hurt my playtesting is the house hunt it just nukes days at a time, and like, oh yep, they're doing a walkthrough tonight that we need to watch, so sorry, no game. And that combined with the random heat waves has just made everything hard. It's been a real difficult couple of months. I wanted to be more kind of open with all of you as my patrons, but it just wasn't the right time yet. I had to kind of keep things close to the vest until things were settled down. So, yeah, that's been what's going on. That's been my busy few months here. Yeah. Well, if there's anything else, I'm trying to think if there's anything else floating around. If anybody has any other thoughts or questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But, yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it here for today. A little short. Yeah, no, I didn't want to jinx it. No. I mean, that's exactly what was discussed amongst us. It's like, let's not jinx it. Let's just let it play out. Well, because here's the thing. The first place we tried to get, we didn't get. So, we were immediately kind of risk averse to going after places when we didn't get the first one, when we got outbid. So, yeah, it's a tough process, and I only have X amount of pennies to spend. So yeah, it's been a wild couple of weeks, wild couple of months. It's not over yet. The next month or so is going to be a lot, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to have my full focus until we're settled and I'm unpacked and back up and running down in our new house. So, folks, I think that's all I got here for tonight. We're going to be doing a Twitch stream here in a little bit, playing some Baldur's Gate 3 over on Twitch. So if you feel like joining me for that, please do. I'm looking forward to kind of playing it without the feeling of being encumbered by the weight of all the things I have to do. So, that's all I got here tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for coming out. Thank you for being patrons. I know it's been a little rough, and I appreciate you bearing with me, especially in this kind of big change. And I am looking forward to getting this behind me and moving forward with getting this campaign out there for everyone to enjoy. So thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for your support. Take care of yourselves out there, and we will see you next time.